Welcome back, everyone. We hope you're all enjoying your week so far as we begin to shift into full gear for the holiday season. I'm your host, Evan Palea.
And I'm your other host, Ricky Francis, and you are watching the Aruga's Fantasy Football Power Rankings.
My, oh my, what a crazy, busy week it has been. For those who partake, the wait is over. Wicked Part 2 is now out only in theaters.
BB4 was a huge success with lots of great gameplay and company. And lastly, Thanksgiving is just a couple days away. I hope you're all hungry because it is time to chow down on the Week 12 recap.
Indeed, heading into No Balls Allowed versus Madden Presidents, kicking it off in the recap. No Balls Allowed picks up yet another win, is on a 3-game win streak, and is in great shape to close out this season in first place, currently sitting at 9-3. While President saw 18 points from her kicker, 16 from her adjusted defense, and 20 from her newly acquired Kareem Hunt, it wasn't enough to close out the game. Josh Allen gave another underwhelming performance with 8 points and weak wide receiver play. And on the other side, we saw NFL MVP prospect Matthew Stafford throw 3 touchdowns and 275 yards. Kenneth gaining well over the desired points needed. And JSN with 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions, 168 yards.
Absolutely. On to our second matchup, my New Jersey 69ers versus Ridley Me, this Batman. Batman picks up yet another win just by the skin of his teeth in a game that it went down to 2 wide receiver ones on Sunday Night Football. Nacua versus the newly acquired Emeka Egbuka for the 69ers, in which Nacua scored 16 and Egbuka only 16.2, okay? Now, Batman climbs to an outstanding 8-4 record and is starting to look at nearly confirmed playoff berth, which sadly, my 69ers start to wonder what puzzle he's going to pick.
Indeed. And you said 16.2 for Egbuka, but correction, it was 6.2 for
sorry,
Emeka Egbuka.
16.2?
No, yeah, you're good.
That was wishful thinking, I guess.
Wishful thinking, indeed. On to our next matchup, we saw Team Poopy Fart face off against Team Snives in a game he needed to win to even have a prayer at the playoffs. Fart picks up the win over Snides, which came at a huge cost. Newly acquired wide receiver T. Higgins is now out with a concussion and will be missing at least a week or 2 of the fantasy season. He did, however, see newly acquired Hunter Henry put up 24 points. For next week, Snides will look to see a better performance for his 2 new Falcons, Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts.
Absolutely. And I want to just throw out there that Hunter Henry, he got a slight... He caught a stray from his former manager in his statement, saying, I'll trade a tight end any day. And there he goes, putting up a ton of points for you guys. So that's good. On to our next game, Poopy Fart's fiance versus Blame It on the Juice. The 2-game losing streak is over for PFF as she is defeating Blame It on the Juice, who falls to 4-8. Okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great game once again, 30 fantasy points, getting this team a win with over 100 points scored. Now, Juice saw decent running back play, but ultimately struggled in the wide receiver realm. But once again, Lamar Jackson only putting up 7 points and a big red Q next to his name. Unfortunately, Blame It on the Juice has been eliminated from the playoff hunt.
And our next matchup, Noah's Nasty versus Team McKenna. Let's leave this matchup short and sweet, shall we? Jahmyr Gibbs alone outscored all of McKenna's 9 players. It's also worth noting that Noah's Nasty could have benched Jahmyr Gibbs and still won this game. Ricky, back to you.
Wow, I didn't even notice that. That's an insane factoid for our manager who loves to give a fact about his matchup. Now, in our next game, Do It Lady versus 2 Purdy at Hurts. Do It Lady is back to scoring fairly scary numbers. 30 from Hurts, 27 from CMC, 22 from the newly acquired Derrick Henry, 20 from Travis Etienne, who he acquired in his first trade of the season, and 30 from Wan'Dale Robinson, who he acquired in another trade where he shipped off Rachaad White. But is it all too late? Even if Do It Lady wins these last 2 weeks, what will need to happen in order for him to make the playoffs? Well, Evan, they can find out later in this video, can't they?
Indeed, so stick around. In our next matchup and final, we had Justice Gang versus Bijan Mustard. This, my friend, was a nail-biter. A must-win for both teams. This week, Gang saw weak running back performance from both Jordan Mason and potential Offensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Taylor, who followed up his 49-point game with an 8-point game. Coming into Monday Night Football, Mustard needed returning quarterback Brock Purdy to just not throw 3 picks. And not only just 1 touchdown, which unfortunately, what was held him to only 7 points. Gang continues to fight her way to this playoff spot, as Mustard is hoping he won't have to do yet another punishment.
Absolutely. Now, let's get into our ER Productions power rankings, starting off with the bottom 4 in the toilet bowl. My goodness. At 14, blame it on the juice, our first eliminated team this season from the playoffs. 13th in points for. Now, at 13th is my New Jersey 69ers, same record as 14th. However, ESPN sees that there is still a chance for me to make it.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what that is. I guess it's maybe my matchups. In order for me to win out, those people have to lose. Who knows? But moving on from that, 12 is Team McKenna, and honestly, 2 weeks ago was at 3, but after a 52-point performance this past week, it's tough to put him any higher.
Yeah, it's ugly.
And at 11, Bijan Robinson. 12% chance, 7th in points for. A shot, not great odds.
Indeed, yes, Bijan Mustard, indeed. All right, on to...
Did I say Robinson?
You did, yeah. On to the hunt, ladies and gentlemen. We've got at number 10, Too Pretty It Hurts. At number 9, Team Snides. At number 8, we've got Team Poopy Fart finally working his way back up. And number 7, Madam Presidents. These teams are holding out hope. No one's out of it just yet, but a lot would need to happen. A miracle would need to happen for any of these 4 teams to really make it in there.
You know, I think all a miracle except for Madam President.
Indeed.
That one is as close to a lock as you can be.
For sure.
At this point in the game, but there's a reason why she is not in the top 6. Now let's get to those playoff wild cards right now at 6. Do It Lady is back into our playoff picture. Now, when we say our picture, we mean our picture, okay? 2nd in points for with a 22% chance, and we will talk about why that is a lot higher than it really seems in just a bit. At 5, Poopy Fart's fiance, our first clinched player at 8-4 of our power rankings. And at 4, Ridley Me This Batman, our reigning champ, also clinched 6th in points for.
Indeed. Now, these 2 players are players that you won't see past, below 7 or 7 and below anymore, as they have made the playoffs, so they're going to be in at least 1 through 6.
They are in. There's no doubts about that anymore.
Moving on to our championship contenders. At number 3, we've got No Balls Allowed at 9-3, clinching the playoffs. At number 2, we have Noah's Nasty clinching the playoffs. And at number 1, still Justice Gang, who has not yet clinched her playoff spot.
You are absolutely right. Folks, that does bring us into the current standings of the league, where this week we saw 4 of the 6 playoff spots be secured by No Balls Allowed, Noah's Nasties, Ridley Me This Batman, and Poopy Fart's fiancés. Now the 2 final spots are all out. They're for an all-out battle right now.
Indeed. But there are some key teams that we all have our eyes on. Those teams being Justice Gang, who is inches away from clinching, but Team Do It Lady, who is 5-7 and has a behemoth of a team, needs quite a bit to happen in order to make it. Do It Lady would need to win Week 13 against Bijan Mustard and win Week 14 against Noah's Nasties to make it. But he would need Madam Presidents to lose at least one or both of those matchups, or Justice Gang to lose out the rest of the season.
Absolutely, and that is assuming that if Justice Gang were to lose out the rest of the season, that that Do It Lady would outscore, because that does come. That's the tiebreaker, is points scored, right? And that's our 1 and 2. And I do want to just add a caveat here to this Week 14 matchup, because this is going to be a juggernaut battle here. Unfortunately, the 49ers have a bye Week 14, which means Team Do It Lady is going to be without Christian McCaffrey in that Week 14 matchup. I don't know how big of an impact that's going to be, but if you're asking me, and this is just something I know about Christian McCaffrey, he is the top fantasy player this year. He has more points scored than Jonathan Taylor, than JSN, than anyone else. He is the leading scorer. So it's going to be a big loss for sure. Now let's get into the next part. Justice Gang can easily secure her spot this week with a win over Noah's Nasties, which, again, crazy matchup. And for Madam Presidents, 2 wins would secure the spot, but she could clinch with just 1 as long as she outscores any team that she finishes with a tying record.
Anything can happen with these last 2 playoff spots. Nothing yet is confirmed, so only time will tell.
Now listen, that's all for us for now. Join us next week as we start to confirm eliminations and maybe 1 more additional playoff spot.
We thank you for watching and hope you have a great Thanksgiving. See you next week.